Welcome back to Man Cave Movies. I'm DeGarian Andrews. This is my Man Cave, and these are my movies. So, in recent years, I've been seeing on the internet posts such as maturing is realizing that Love and Basketball is a horror film, or maturing is realizing that Quincy and Monica were in a toxic relationship. I even found an article on medium.com expressing this exact notion, and it reads, while the movie had a happy ending and they ended up together, this movie is a terrible representation of how love and relationships should be. Kids often fantasize about things that happen in movies and wish those events they see in the movies for themselves. Love and Basketball caused a whole group of impressionable kids and teenagers to fantasize toxic and unhealthy relationships. It tried to validate Quincy's feelings that when he was busy with basketball, Monica was supposed to just be there and support him. But when she was busy with basketball, she should make exceptions to accommodate him. He tried to make it seem like her dream wasn't as important as his, when in reality, both of their dreams were important. Personally, I also think the game for Q's heart is terrible. I understand that it makes sense for the context of the story, but if that was real life, I would never be in that situation. I wouldn't want to be picked because I won a game. I would want to be picked because that person actually loves me and wants to be with me. Honestly, the fact that Quincy was engaged and even entertained Monica's request to play the game rubs me the wrong way. He was in a committed relationship with his fiancée and should have respected their relationships by at least having a conversation with her about how he felt about Monica, when instead he kept her in the dark and tried to act like he and Monica had always been just friends. Not only was the main relationship unhealthy, but even some of the side relationships. Quincy's dad was constantly lying and cheating on his mom, and she continued to consciously make the decisions to stay, knowing what he was doing. Her justification was that even though she knew she should leave him, he took care of all the bills and she relied on him. Even though I thought this movie was perfect growing up, I am now old enough to realize how this movie sends some terrible messages. I would definitely show my future kids this movie because it is a classic. I will make sure they know not to base their future love lives off of what they see in the movie. That was a lot, and we are going to dive into it when we return to Man Cave Movies. Okay, so let's dive into that because that was a lot. For anyone that has seen Love and Basketball and are fans of this classic film, I know you're probably wondering, what is that author talking about? So, in my opinion, the moment Monica took off her hat to play Quincy in the very beginning of the film, it was love at first sight. The thing that connected them initially was basketball, but they were later bound and brought together by the love that they share for each other. And I don't think anything about their relationship was toxic. They started off as friends. They became basketball adversaries. They always wanted to one up the other. They would have childish banter about who was better. But when they finally got together, it was Monica that made the first move. Quincy obliged because it was clear from the scene at the prom that they had feelings for each other. The chemistry was through the roof when they were slow dancing with their dates, but their gazes met each other. The love was palpable. You could just see it. There was no denying that they were in love. There was nothing toxic about that. So when they get together and they go to college during the second quarter of the film, they're in a normal college relationship. From what we see in the film, Monica is faithful, Quincy is faithful. Yes, he has legions of adoring female fans, but we have no indication that Quincy was entertaining other women. He only had eyes for Monica. He was quoted as saying, out of all these girls, you're the only one that's real. They had love for each other. Monica was faithful to him. He was faithful to Monica. Now, where things start to take a turn is when Quincy's life is turned upside down, when he realizes that his father has been unfaithful to his mother for all of these years. Yes, the mother had an inkling She said, for all his late night meetings, I still needed proof, so she hired an investigator. So what this author said was the mother knew all along. She didn't know for sure. She just had women's intuition, but maybe she was afraid to find out because she didn't want to lose those things. But when she had had enough, she hired a private investigator and things were revealed. So Quincy takes this hard. He's going through a crisis of some sort, and he needs someone to be there for him. And that is when things start to take a turn. We will continue when we return. Welcome back to Man Cave Movies. I'm your host, DeGarian Andrews, and we are discussing Junior Prince Bythewood's 2000 film, Love and Basketball. We left off talking about Quincy getting the news that his father had been unfaithful and his mother is filing for a divorce. And of course, this shook Quincy's world and turned it upside down because he looked up to his father, he idolized him, he worshiped him. So getting this news, of course, it sent him spiraling. He is going through this and he expects Monica, played by Sanaa Lathan, to be there for him. Naturally, that's his girl. He's going through something. He expects his significant other to be there for him. Monica is at a crossroad because she has to decide between being there for Quincy, her boyfriend, or meeting curfew so she can keep her starting spot. Now, when I saw this film as a child, I was, I think, a freshman in high school. When she made the decision to go back to her dorm, I thought that was the worst thing in the world. How could she be so selfish? She's leaving him when he needed her most. He's going through a real life crisis, and she turned her back on him. However, I've seen this film hundreds of times, and actually, maturing is realizing that she did the best thing. Yes, they were in a committed relationship, but they were not married. So technically, she was not obligated to cast her dreams aside for him. Yes, I understood why he wanted her there, but she had dreams as well. And so it was not fair to just harp on his dreams and cast hers to the side. So I do agree with the author of the article there. I think she made the right decision by leaving. However, she did not just leave. She said, let's go back to my dorm. We can continue the conversation there. He didn't want to run into anyone. She gave him options. He didn't want them. She loved basketball as much as she loved him. She didn't want to lose her starting spot. She did what she had to do for herself. Point blank, period. Still not toxic. Quincy wanting someone to be there for him in his hour of need, that's not toxicity. That's human nature. And who doesn't want someone to be there for them when they're going through something as traumatic as what Quincy was going through? So fast forward to him taking Monica Calhoun's character on a date to get Monica to notice him. Okay, their brains were still developing. They were not 25. He felt that he had to do that to get his girlfriend's attention. To quote Quincy, he said, I took the hoe to Burger King. It's not like they went to a 5-star restaurant. It's not like they went back to her place afterwards. At least I didn't get that from the film. He wanted her attention. He was going through a lot. He was going through a crisis. He wanted someone to be there for him, and he thought that was the best way to get her attention. Toxic, that's a stretch. He joins the draft. He says, hey, I don't want to be with you anymore. I think we should just be friends. Who knows where I'm going to end up? Now, again, when I saw this in high school, I thought, haha, that's what she deserves. She should have been there for him. As an adult, I said, that was kind of messed up. They probably should have had a conversation. Never once did I think it was toxic. So, time passes. In the third quarter of the film, Monica is playing professional ball across seas. Quincy has joined the Los Angeles Lakers. Not to much success. Their lives have taken two totally different paths. That's the third quarter. We're going to get into the fourth quarter when we return. Stay with us. Welcome back to Man Cave Movies. I'm DeGarian Andrews. This is my Man Cave, and these are my movies. Once again, we are discussing Love and Basketball, a 2000 film by director Gina Prince Bythewood. We've come to the fourth quarter of the film, and that is when their paths cross again. Monica comes home to visit. She realizes that Quincy is engaged to Tyra Banks' character, which is interesting because Omar Epps and Tyra Banks start together in Higher Learning, which is the next film that I'll be discussing. And she's kind of shocked by that. Um, she thought that maybe she was going to come back. He was going to be single. They were going to rekindle what they had before, but she came back to this hurdle. She tosses and she turns about it. She even gets into an argument with her mother, played by Alfre Woodard, about what she should do to win Quincy's heart back. Her mother gives her a hard lesson, a tough lesson. She said, I thought Quincy deserved better. I was talking about you. So the ball is in your court, pun intended. Monica decides that she wants to wake Quincy up, confess her love to him. He says, why would you do this 2 weeks before I get married? She says, I'll play you one-on-one for your heart. Now, the author of the article says, I would not have want to be chosen because I won a game. I would have wanted to be chosen because I was the one that he wanted. Well, if you watch the movie, you would know that Monica, in fact, loses the basketball game. It was then Quincy that said double or nothing because he realizes that Monica is, in fact, his soulmate. Yes, he was in a relationship and engaged to be married to Tyra Banks' character, but would you rather him get in a marriage that he is just in to pass the time, or would you rather he, even though it's 2 weeks before they got married, call it off and be with the love of his life? I'm going to choose the latter. I know a lot of women have had issues with Quincy, calling him the villain in the film, but I'd like to know how the women, how my female viewers feel about this film being considered toxic now by a few people, and the decisions that Quincy made towards Monica and the decisions that Monica made toward Quincy. My stance is I don't think that this film is a horror film. I don't think that they were in a toxic relationship. I think this is a beautiful Black coming of love story, coming of age and falling in love story, actually. And I think it was perfectly written. I think it was perfectly directed. I think it was perfectly acted, especially by the two leads, Sanaa Lathan as Monica and Omar Epps as Quincy. I think it came out at the right time, and I also think it stands the test of time. So please tell me what you think in the comments. Please like, subscribe, share with 3 friends, and ask them to do the same. And I will see you next time on Man Cave Movies. This is DeGarian Andrews signing out.